My YouTube channel. My name is Mo. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. Today my video is about what happens after the rapture. And so it's called the 7-year tribulation. Please go back and watch my video on what is the rapture, and then you can see that this is the follow-up to that video. So the 7-year tribulation happens after the rapture. And what is tribulation? Well, tribulation is severe trials, distress, and suffering. Tribulation is a time of God's divine judgment for man's rebellion. Daniel 9:24-27, it reveals the purpose and time of the tribulation. So in Daniel 9:24, it speaks of a period of time in which God's purpose is to finish transgression, to put an end to sin, to atone for wickedness, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So the 7-year tribulation starts after the rapture of the church. It is a time of great distress, widespread chaos, disaster, plagues, and persecution affecting all of creation. 1 Corinthians 15:51-53 and 1 Thessalonians 4 verses 1-18. You could check that out and see what it says. The tribulation is also called the Great Tribulation, and this is the second half of the more intense 7 years. And in Matthew 24:21, it says this will be a time of darkness and gloom. So it will not be a time that you're partying. It's going to be a time of darkness and gloom. And in Daniel 9:27, it highlights a ruler who will confirm a covenant with the world. And in the middle of the 7 year, he breaks the covenant with Israel, causing the abomination that causes desolation. And in Daniel 8:23-24, you could check it out. It have a description there of what this ruler is going to be like. In Matthew 21, verse 15, the person of this verse, Jesus calls the beast in Revelations 13. And in Revelations 13, it tells us the beast, who is the Antichrist, will put an image of himself in the temple and demands the world to worship him for 3.5 years. And in Revelations 13, 5-6, and Revelations 11, 2-3, and Daniel 12, 11-12, check that out and see what it says. So, he will exercise global, political, and religious control, so humanity will be forced to worship him or suffer economic sanctions and death. No one will be able to buy or sell unless they take the mark that is the name of the beast or the number of its name. Check out Revelations 13, 4-8, what it says there, and also verses 15-17, what it says. So think of it this way. There will be a cashless society. So there will be no form of where you could buy and sell unless you took the mark of this beast. That is how awful that this is going to be. So this time will be unprecedented suffering and persecution for all humanity, but more so for those who are believers during the tribulation time, because there will be believers during the tribulation time. There will be believers that come to know Christ during this time. And so in Matthew 24:21, it says it will be worse than anything in history. So think of the worst thing in history. It will be worse than that. It's nothing that we could imagine. Let's put it that way. So many will be martyred for their faith because they obey God's command and hold to the testimony of Jesus. There will be miracles of provision and protection of those remaining steadfast in their faith to find peace in Jesus. And in Revelation 3:10, it tells us that there will be peace for those who are in the tribulation and believe in Jesus. Matthew 28:20, Jesus assures his followers, behold, I am with you always to the end of the ages. So no matter how severe the tribulation is, believers are not alone. God is ever present, providing strength and comfort. And so if you have not taken the time to read Revelations and Daniel, I would suggest that you take some time and actually read these two books. You will be blessed, but the wisdom and knowledge that you would gain from this book is going to be amazing. In summary, the tribulation is a 7-year period that will follow the rapture, in which evil will spread without restraint and humanity will experience God's divine judgment. So imagine living in a world where evil is without restraint. That is going to be just simply awful. And so here's your choice. It's either Jesus or the mark of the beast. And so what I'm giving you right now is just a tip of the iceberg of what it's going to be like. It's more horrible than what I'm even explaining to you. I can't even imagine. And so there is only one way, and that is Jesus. John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. That is a promise made, a promise kept. God gave us his Son, Jesus, that we don't have to go through the circumstances that we're going to go through. It means he's going to be with us every step of the way. But that will only happen when you actually make him your best friend. And you can make him your best friend by simply just echoing this prayer that I'm about to say. And once you say that, know that he will come into your heart and he will align you to himself. You don't have to wait for all these things to happen for you to come to know Jesus. Coming to know him earlier is better off than doing it later, because in the tribulation, it is going to be super hard for you to come to know Jesus. And so, Jesus, I make you my best friend. I ask you into my heart. Forgive me of my sins. Thank you for dying on the cross for me. Amen. If you said that and you meant it, well, Jesus is now in your heart and he will align you to himself. And now it's your turn to do the work. Find yourself a church. And not every church teaches Jesus. So you want to find one that teaches Jesus and models Jesus. And then help out in your community. It's a good thing to do that, and you get to know other people and get to hear their story and learn about them too as well. And if you don't have a Bible, well, you could download the Bible app. It comes in many languages, and it's very simple for you to be able to understand the words of God. And then you want to schedule Jesus into your walk, because if you don't schedule him into your walk, you're going to forget what you just did. And so it's very important to be able to do that. If you meant the prayer that I just said with you today, welcome to the family of God. It's the most amazing journey that you are going to be on. And so I want to thank you again for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to it. And so thank you again. Cheers.